So it's summer holidays and my kids got hold of my Scalextrics and made a right mess in my garage. I keep tripping over it all. So in this video we're going to make a board and a way to store it out the way, so when they get it out and play with it I won't keep tripping over it. So I plan on using a standard sheet of ply, which is 8 foot by 4 foot. Now I still want to use the garage to store the Subaru in. Now, obviously 8 foot by 4 foot is a big space and it's only a single garage, so I've come up with some sort of solution which I will show you here. So the garage itself is 2.4 meters from the floor to the ceiling, and then you've got 2 meters where the rafters are. Now last time I put the Subaru in the garage I had 90 centimeters between the roof and the roof of the Subaru. So I'm thinking if I can get a board to sit above the Subaru and then have it suspended like that, sorry about my drawing, and then when the Subaru is in the garage it can go under it, and then I can put it on some sort of winch system and have a pulley up here and then have the coming down on there and then have the board on there somehow. So then if the board will be winched up and down if I need to, if they want to use a Scalextric or don't want to use a Scalextric. I hope that makes some sort of sense to you. So my first problem was the lighting in the garage. Obviously I want to put the board and have it suspended on the ceiling. One strip light here. So I've changed that and I've got these 6 strip lights in the corners. So to winch the board up and down I just use one of these cheap trailer winches off eBay. As you can see, I winch it up, flick the switch and I winch it down. Right, so I have bolted that to the wall and the cable goes all the way up through the ceiling up there. Now as it comes through the ceiling it goes against that pulley, past the Christmas decorations, all the way up to the top of the rafters to the pulley on the roof. Now on that bit I have put a steel bar across which I've bolted to all the rafters and the wall, and hopefully that'll be enough to support the weight. So it's a quick demonstration. See? Turn the handle, straight up there, around there, and then as you can see, this winding up. So my next stage is to buy the sheet of ply I'm going to use and then build a frame around it.
A few moments later.
So as you can see behind me I've got my sheet of ply and some battens. So I wanted to use 18mm ply really, but I was looking at weights of sheets of ply and a 18mm sheet of ply weighs 32 kilos and a 12mm sheet of ply weighs 18 kilos. Now because I'm suspending this from the ceiling I want it as light as possible, so that's why I've gone for the 12mm ply. Now my next job is going to be to make a frame using these bits of wood around the outside of the ply to give it some rigidity, and we're going to use that to help hoist it into the ceiling. Now that the frame's built I need to think about how I'm going to lift the board. Now I'm going to use these M10 eye bolts. I've got one for each corner, so I've put these thread inserts into the frame which look like this. So it's an M10 thread in there which basically just drill a bigger hole, those screw into the wooden frame, and then we can screw these eye bolts in. So the reason I use these is so we can take them in and out so we don't knock ourselves on them when we are manoeuvring ourselves around the board. So to lift the board we're going to use this 2mm galvanised steel wire. As you can see I've crimped it on there with a thimble on one end, so that'll go on the board end and this will go on the hook on the top. And I've used a turnbuckle so we can use this to level the board up if it's not quite straight. Now I did want to use a thicker wire than 2mm, but I've done some research and apparently it's got a breaking strain of 350 kilos if you believe that, and the main wire over here is 4mm, so 4 of the 2mm should be a lot stronger than this one 4mm wire, so hopefully we should be alright. So I've made this to lift the board, so the main winch will go onto here, and then you've got 4 of these other eye bolts here, which those 4 wires which I've made will sit on each side, and then each one of those will go down to a corner of the table, and then that will lift the board hopefully. So there it is, all made up. one wire onto each corner. Now obviously this moves around a bit, so we're going to have to make some legs, so that is the next job. So for the legs I've used this same wood which I've used for the frame on there. Now I'm using these hinges here because they're folding hinges, so when the table's up in the air I'll be able to slide this over, fold the legs up and then drive my car underneath. So as you can see, I've added some grass mat to the board as well. I use some contact spray adhesive to stick it down, and all that's left to do now is to build a track.
One pair of pants later.
So this is the track I've come up with. As you can see, I've already got a few of my cars on, some touring cars, some GT cars, obviously a couple of Subarus. So all that's left to do now is to lift it up into the roof, make sure the roof doesn't come down, and then make sure the Subaru fits underneath it. So I've also added a couple of these eye bolts into the rafters here with a chain on, so when it's lifted onto the roof I can secure the board onto the chain as well, so it doesn't fall down on one of my children, or even worse, my Subaru. Right, let's give it a go. So now it's all the way up. I'll just attach these safety chains, and when they are attached I'll just load it down a bit so the chain and the wire are both taking the weight. Now with the legs, I found when I fold them up, as you can see when I release them, they don't actually stay up, they just drop down. So what I've done, I've got a couple of bungees here, and I'll just put a couple of bungees underneath them to hold the legs up. So there we have it. As you can see, I can actually fit underneath it. The legs are all up, so all we need to do now is to bring the Subaru in and make sure it all fits in. I was a bit worried when I opened the door of the garage that it would hit the Scalextrics, but as you can see, there's a perfect gap between, and if I walk back, there's plenty of room to get the Subaru in. So there we go, loads of room to spare. You can see Subaru's in. There's loads of room between the Subaru and the set. See, there's all the cars up there. And there is the Subaru. So I hope you enjoy watching my Scalextric build video. If anyone's got any comments on how to improve the track or the general build, let me know in the comments. Now obviously I could change the winch out for an electric winch, would probably be a lot easier, and I was thinking as it's on a table, instead of doing like a bridge over the track, I could go under the track and cut something out the board. So let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching.